Welcome to My Natural Hair Podcast. My name is LaDonna Sims of Hair Goals 313, located at 16824 Kirchhoff Avenue, Suite 209 in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, 48230. So today, I'm by myself. Markeisha is on vacation, getting ready for the up-and-coming holiday season that's coming up. So, yes, how was y'all weekend? Everybody, how was your weekend, Marley? Everything was good? I saw you at the concert. You went to go see Megan Thee Stallion. She dropped it like it's hot, and you're a fan now, right? Okay. And how about you, Joe? How was your Thanksgiving? Oh. Oh, a friend of mine, cuffing season is already just friends. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let's take it. Take it slow. It's no big deal. Yeah. So this has been. We've been out for a couple of Sundays. It's been about a couple of Sundays that we've been out. But I was out of town for my family reunion. My cousins got together in Atlanta to come up with a crab boil. So we did a crab boil cookout thing that we wanted to. Just start something with the family where we bond and we get together every year just to know what's going on in each other's lives, because we haven't passed the torch since 2009, like consistently. So we did have a family reunion in 2016. So that was it. Then we haven't seen each other in a while. So we want to try to do something every year. Then I went to go see my girlfriend in Buckhead, Atlanta. She had a high tea party at her apartment, so that was pretty fun. Then I came back home and hit the ground running. When I got back, I started a lock startup with a person that wanted their locks down to their shoulders, and that was a lock extension touch-up. That was a interesting situation, but I got through it. He loved his hair, but wow, I don't know if I can do that by myself again, but I'm glad I made it through. And then I also did I have a client that's been coming to me for years. His name is Brennan Brown. Shout out to Brennan Brown. He and his brother come get their hair done. I started his brother's locks. But this week, his two sisters and mom started their lock journey, and I was excited to be the one that they chose. And they actually ended up getting an Instagram page where it's called 3 Brown Locks. So it's Keisha, Amani, and Anaya. I think it's Anaya or Naya, I think they call it. But they 3 chocolate sisters that I started their locks, and they did their lock count. So I put 120 in her mom's hair, and her sister got 90, and she got 91. I don't know how I did that, but yeah, so I'm excited for them, and thank you for shouting out. I really enjoyed y'all this week. And I have 3 quotes of the day. So I'll get started with that. My first quote is, if you cannot stop thinking about it, don't stop working for it. So if it's something that's in your mind that you like to do, just don't stop working at it until you get it. Just keep at it. Like whatever your craft is, whatever that is, if you can't stop thinking about it, don't stop working at it or working for it. The second one, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. That's by Maya Angelou. So Maya Angelou. So you're already successful if you're already into something that you love doing and you like what you're doing, and you like how you're doing it. So that's another one. And I have a third one today. I did 3. Today, I will not do what others won't. So tomorrow, I can do what others can't. So sometimes you got to do the things you don't want to do the things you want to do. So, yeah. So those are my quotes. And today's topic is about the history of locks. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And it's some information out here that we can learn about locks and how they started. But for me, locks had started in Egypt. When I went to Egypt, I looked on the tombs and the hairstyles, and they were the first people that started locks. So that would be the first people. And so we'll just talk about the different cultures that had them. So most of us think about locks as like, some of us are, in the beginning time, the locks were mostly like on the spiritual reasons. Like most people that got their hair locked or whatever, they were like on a spiritual realm, or just letting the universe grow their locks, or just not really being into the vain part of it. So it went through some parts of religion as well. So I would say the first ones would be it would be the Egyptians, and then the second group would probably be, or what they were saying was, like the Hindus. So they said that the Hindus were the second generation that had them, and then it went to the Aztecs. So different cultures had them, all the way down to like, what would you call them? The Aztecs and the Vikings, all of them, because what they do is like dreadlocks actually mean, or dreads just mean you not combing the locks, or you just letting your hair grow without a comb and washing it or whatever and letting it go. So then you have the second one was like, the third one would be the Bible verses. They had like Samson and Delilah, that story where he had 7 locks, and the power of the locks is inside of your head, and everything comes out of the scalp of your head, like the power or energy or how you do it. And they felt like if you kept your hair locked and kept it in a bond, that it would keep the energy inside your body and make you stronger. So the story of Samson and Delilah, when Delilah cut Samson's hair, it was like taking his power away. So that's another form of them looking at that. So let me go to this real quick and just go through the history of them, and so that I can show how it started in Egypt, but then it ends up going through different cultures. So I think it was, first it was the ancient Egyptian religion, then it went to Ethiopian culture. So there was a story about Rastafari that he was exiled, and when he was exiled, the people decided that they wouldn't cut their hair until he came back. So that's when the locks started to happen, and then the Rastafarian culture, which we now get to Jamaican, where they started doing it, and they started letting their hair grow natural, and that would look like the Bob Marley situation, like, or the Old Testament. So what they did was take the Old Testament and African tribal culture, and they did the Hindu tribal culture. So it looks like Hindu was before the Rastafarian that came around, and so now that they started doing it, they would incorporate the African culture along with that. And it also has something to do with the diet. The thing about the word dread, though, I learned that it's not really dreadful. It's like the fear and dread and love of God. So the reason why they grew their hair was for the fear of dread and love of God. I thought that it was because of, like, your locks are dreadful, and it's just not it's a dreadful look. But no, it was just like dreads and respect for God, so they just let their hair just grow. I think Nazarites did it as well. They were holy men, and they believed and modeled themselves after wearing the matted hairstyle. And so that's kind of like how most dreadlocks, or people that started locks, kind of did it in a more spiritual way. Then they pulled it down to Bob Marley, even though most people look at it through that and they associate weed with having locks. Because of Bob Marley, some of the Rastafarians kind of like have a issue with just thinking that it's strictly, just because you have locks, it's strictly is connected to that. But they also used marijuana as a form of being closer to God, like seeming like they have more clarity and they have more understanding, and they can really absorb information and just be real clear with the use of marijuana. Then you have some people that just don't believe in altering the state at all. So any altered state they don't agree with. But most of the time, well, for the most part, the locks started off as more of a spiritual thing. Now we have more and more people embracing it, and it's not really just a black thing, even though our hair naturally grows that way and it naturally coils and form in that way, that more people or other cultures that's taken on the Rastafarian hair, and more. It's not really like, I believe that it did start in the first generations did have it, but I think any culture that didn't comb their hair could have a matting situation. We also had African tribes, so I think in 1930s is when we found out about Rastafarians, but earlier centuries, like the ancient religion of Egypt, like that was the beginning. And then you had African tribes as well. So I studied, one of them was the Maasai tribe of Kenya. And so they had locks for decades and or for a long time ago, like way before. And they had, they do theirs with like a clay, or they wear red clay with it or whatever. But a lot of our different cultures, a lot of different cultures has, in the African tribes have been wearing locks a long time as well. Okay, so going back to the Bob Marley situation, we was talking about like how he just naturally growed his hair out that way, that it was a lot of stipulations about the Rastafarians too, so we just didn't want to, they didn't really want to have the connotation where it was just connected to weed. But yeah, but they definitely don't. Another thing about the culture with Rastafarians, they care about what they put in their body as well. So the weed does come from the earth, if that's what that's about, where they say that they come closer to God. But they also don't eat red meat. They don't eat meat. They don't use alcohol or anything. So again, it goes back to the spirituality of it. Now. The thing about that I wanted to discuss with us is like I wanted us to study more about the nature of our hair and loving the way it naturally grows out. And I'm learning through studying about it is that it's like connected to the cosmos, or the way our hair grow, and it's like it naturally rises to the sun. It naturally does something that's for melanated people, and for us to have that natural melanation in our hair that connects us with the universe, I think it's something to look forward to and not look so negative about our hair. So I kind of want us to really embrace the traditional styles of our ancestors. I found that studying this and going through all cultures, it's a lot of cultures that decided that they just let their hair naturally grow. Again, it's the ancient Cuban culture that was the same way. You have the Aztecs that I mentioned before. You have the Vikings and different cultures that just let their hair naturally grow that way. But our hair has a natural coil pattern that doesn't have to be, it naturally forms that way. So it's something that can just naturally go that way, or you can have it manicured or not. So we can get into the manicured lock versus the organic lock. So organic locks is kind of like what Bob Marley hair is, and then we have our manicured locks, what basically what my locks are. And then you have people that's just, they have a brush technique that you can use to just let it grow out, or it can be really fine. So it's just different ways of wearing your hair, and different ways of doing your locks and how you grow. But most people are doing it for nowadays is that it's easier to handle, it's better to work out, you can work out with it, and it's not so much spiritual as it, but I wish you would look into it, into knowing that you can clean your hair whenever you want to, just like Caucasians do with their straight hair, with the natural hair. That's another reason why most people are today going towards that way, and they also embracing their natural hair, and they loving the locks and studying it. Like the fashion show that we just had, a lot of our clients, they just talked about what natural hair does for them. And since I've been on my natural hair journey, it does make me feel a little bit more spiritual, more connected. I feel energy a lot better. It's just bring me or make me more in tune to myself and having more time with life instead of worrying about my hair so much. But the journey has been real. So just looking at some of the stuff when I was studying about the hair, the Guinness, it's a lot of people that's it's a lot of things in the media that's kind of negative. Like the Guinness Book of World Records, it's a lady that named Asha Mandela. She had the longest dreadlocks ever. Like, she had the longest dreadlocks. But they pulled the category because they said they can't prove if dreadlocks are natural or not. Like, if they you can't prove that if it's extensions or not, because now that they found that we can take our locks and you can have locks and you can cut your locks and then attach them, reattach them, or add extensions to them, that they can no longer judge or have the longest dreadlock category. Then they also had that dreadlocks are legal to be pulled in the NFL. You can be tackled by your dreadlocks. Because I just didn't know that was a law, but it's a law that you can get dragged by your locks because you got locks in the NFL. I thought that was really interesting. Did y'all know that? It's law. So yeah, it's then we also had some other connotations where about the lock or the history of locks. Now the locks is coming more to the forefront. It's more Caucasians wearing locks now. And they're showing where, we're having some issues with our culture, which I don't know if it's an issue or not, but other cultures, it seems like when they wear the locks, they don't have any negative connotations. But as soon as we wear them, we can't get jobs and we can't do certain things. But then other cultures, like it's some rock bands that are having them. It's some goth culture that has locks now. So, it's been a discussion in the blogs about that, like, how do people feel about that? Some people were stating that, if it's something that we have, why can't we have it to ourselves? But then you can also look at it like, is it, some people are having problems with saying if it's appropriation or not, like is it negative connotations that they're wearing their hair locked, or are they doing it because they're embracing the Rastafarian or the natural culture of it? Because Rastafarians I've seen Caucasians with locks, and they live the lifestyle of, not eating meat and being one human race, just being a whole human race that just embraces the natural way of life, and it shouldn't be judged. But we also want to make sure that, I think most of us in our culture just want to make sure that everybody knows where it starts from, and just know that it comes from Africa. It is from Afro hair, and then, or anybody that decides not to mat their hair. So it's a whole culture where when I looked it up, I thought that Rastafarian would mean all black, but it doesn't. It's just a movement of the human race. Being authentic and just living a healthy one world, one love lifestyle. So with that being said, if more of us did embrace the lock hairstyle, then it would be more open in the world for more people to wear it, I guess. Like, so I guess when you see the blogs talking about, these white artists wearing them, or when Zendaya wore them and they talked about her hair look rancid, or when Marc Jacobs gave a concert, or he gave a fashion show, and all his models had pink locks, that is more acceptable when the white culture does it, but when we do it, it's not acceptable, or it's not as acceptable. But now it's becoming more and more accessible in this day and age. So more of us are wearing them. And what you mean? Yeah, that's exactly Simon. I think, but she checked that real hard, and she kept wearing her hair natural. So yeah, it's also a connotation where it makes you seem like you're a rebel, and it's not like you're really a rebel. You just are loving who you are, and it's not like you're not in a conformed situation. But that was something for them to not. They wanted her hair end up becoming a conversation. But the more of us that wear the natural hair, like when Bo Derek back in the day when she wore it, or when the Kardashians wear it, it seemed like it's okay. But when we do it, I guess they're scared of us to embrace who we are. So I'm going to jump into my natural hair crush, which is Jason Williams from. He's the owner or the CEO of TrueDreads.com, And I wanted to shout out to Tanae because she gave me this guy to look up, and I mean he ended up being my natural hair crush. He's a Rastafarian. He's a his blog is about melanated people. So for people that is conscious about their melanated, a blog for curious melanated minds. So when I had read his article, it really touched me because it was talking about our hair as energy, and I want to read you a little bit from it. It's his blog where what he talked about natural black hair is the most beautiful expression of melanated magic. Locks are the manifestation of melanin magic materialized through the hair follicles of blackness to bloom beyond boundaries and limitations. And that made me think about it in a whole different way, where I already started that when I was on my journey in New York. I kind of learned about our hair, and I was talking to locticians, and I was educated on certain things, but then I just started living life and just doing it. But he was speaking about that our hair is like spiritual antennas. The only only the original human, the black man and woman, have genetically have the genetic capacity to have these antennas. They are a prerequisite of being the architect of humanity. Obviously, there's a plenty of non-black people in the world with black colored hair, but it is not the same as Afro-textured hair. This is why it is so heartbreaking to hear black people talk so negative about their own hair, as if having natural black hair is some sort of negative defect. It's truly the opposite. It says something like our hair carries electricity, defies gravity, and reaches for the sun like every other natural organism. It has internal value as well as external value. Limiting the magnificence of our hair to a physical perception is a crime. Rather than just focusing on how our hair looks, we should look into what our hair actually does, and how could use of this knowledge in our lives, or how we can use this knowledge in our lives. Natural black hair is definitely one, if not most, of the most beautiful expression of melanin magic. It's spontaneous, beautiful, creative, rebellious, revolutionary, inspiring, magical. We are walking reflections of the universe, and our hair is certainly our crown. So yes, his name is Jason Williams of TrueDreads.com. I also looked at him on Facebook. I can't get much out of him, like know where he's from or anything, but I saw him listening to Ice Cube in the kitchen while his wife was, or his significant other, he called his queen, cooking and bopping in the kitchen and everything. I'm like, okay, I like this guy. But I want you to check him out, and it can and learn more about our hair through him and what it does. And yeah, I think. Okay. So yes, okay, and then on top of that, I want to talk to you guys about some books or places that we need to get knowledge on our hair. I have bought a lot of books from. We have a couple of black-owned bookstores here that you can get information on our bodies, our melanated bodies, and our hair, how it grows, and learn to love on it and learn more about ourselves and loving on our hair. I like going to Nandi's Knowledge Cafe in Highland Park. I picked up a couple of books about yoga and about hair, our culture, blood types, just anything dealing with us as melanated people. I went to Source Bookstore. I like her bookstore because she deals with more health and wellness. No fiction is in this store. I bought a book there about my blood type. I bought books there about the art of hair, the health, everything like that. All my incense. It's another bookstore that I also have made our shirts and everything that I bought my books about Marcus Garvey, and Harriet Tubman is at the Shed. I enjoy that spot too. It's on the east side, the Shed. You can check them out on where's this place at? You know exactly where the shed is? I know it's across a park, but it's called The Shed, and it's by Quasi. You can look it up on Facebook, Instagram, The Shed. The Shed Detroit. Yes, so he was also made our T-shirts for the fashion show as well. You can check him out. He has a lot of like black culture, black books, things that you can use or look up or probably just decorate your house with more of your culture in it. So you can check out The Shed as well. I think I'm done. So anyway, I want to shout out everybody for looking at us on Instagram and Facebook again. Hoping Markeisha resting up well because this week is about to start off. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, or we don't want to call it Thanksgiving. We want to call it harvest. And looking forward for the new year, and hopefully you guys will have a good winter vacation.